Oh, this is fancy. Looks like we're live, girl.
We are.
Let me just welcome everybody to season 2 of the Black Authentic Mama series. I was so grateful to be able to be a part of season 1 last year, just to share my motherhood journey and all the good stuff that comes with it. And now I get to share this platform with one of my sister friends. So Shell reached out, the Choose True Project reached out and said, nominate a mom that inspires you, someone that would be able to get on here and have a conversation and just be authentic. And that is the first person that came to my mind was Shivaun. She is probably the most authentic person, open book. You're not going to have to guess what she wants to tell you. That's what I'm going to say. And so she is actually the founder of Black Girl Voices, and I'm rocking her t-shirt today. All that shameless plug right here. Go follow the page. But yeah, Shivaun and I have been friends for a few years now. Our friendship started
kind of her husband.
It was forced, right?
It was forced. So real quick, me and Meshe we're kind of the same person. Yeah, we're kind of the same person. And so my husband, Trey, her husband, Tuck, are best friends. And they pretty much were like, y'all have to be best friends too. And I was like, I don't know that girl. Like, I don't know. I don't have to be best friends with her. I can be cordial when we see each other. And she pretty much had the same reaction because her husband was trying to force to do the same thing. And when we met, we did not even remember our husbands were there, basically. Yeah. And the love over our love of tequila.
They said it was crazy. They said it's really scary how much y'all act alike and how quickly y'all clicked. But I guess it was meant to be.
It was meant to be. It was love at first sight.
But anyway, thank you for coming on here with me, Shivaun. I know people are going to learn a lot from you. I'm super excited just to have this chat. But let's just get started and jump on in there. Just start off telling us a little bit about your motherhood journey.
Okay, so I have 2 boys. I have a now 11-year-old, gosh, that feels weird, and a 3-year-old, soon to be 4-year-old. My motherhood journey kind of started off when I was 19, turning 20. I was a single mom, and it was just me and Shivaun, my oldest, for a long time, and I was just kind of growing up with him. We were helping each other grow up, if you will. I went through some things. I went through some divorce, some hard times. Again, it was me and Shivaun. We kind of rocked the journey together. And then I met my now husband, Trey, and we had a beautiful little boy who is now 3, Clifton. And that's kind of what brings me to present day. After Clifton, I dealt with some postpartum depression. So that was a little rough. And it kind of inspired me to be the open book that I am now with mothers.
Yeah, I think it's always interesting. I've heard a lot about your story, and I think it'll be good just to kind of dig in there a little bit. But what did you learn most about yourself when you were a single mom, just with you and Shivaun?
I learned that as hard as it is, as much work and as much grit and as much heartache as it is, that I will always come out on the other side. Like yes, you need help. So like, I don't want to push a narrative that you don't need help, that, it's not good to have a village, because I had a village of amazing women behind me, but you can always get through it. You will always get through it. And there's so much joy on the other side of that when you realize like there were times that Shivaun would turn like 5 and 6, and I'm like, oh my God, I kept a 5-year-old alive for 5 years. You know what I mean? But like, you can always get through it. And it just seems like there's so much storm in the midst of it, but there's also so much joy. Like, I tried to find positive in it. Like, I didn't have to share my child. It was just, we had the greatest bond because of it. And so you'll always make it through, even when it seems like it's the most tough, you don't see the light at the end of the tunnel type thing.
Yeah, I love that, because I looked at Tuck the other day and I said, you know what? Kanan's about to be 2. How do we keep him alive? Like, he's fine.
For 2 years. Right. People don't understand that. That's why when kids have birthdays, I tell moms, it's your birthday too. Like you carry them, you nurture them. You know, some of us breastfed them, some of us just made sure that they didn't, you know, have a concussion jumping off the couch. Our boys. So like we kept them alive for 5 years. That's a big thing. And then also like things I feel like we don't celebrate enough is we kept ourselves alive.
Oh yeah.
People don't talk about the mental health and the trauma that goes into becoming a mother, you know, and especially a Black mom. But I'm gonna try to stay off of my soapbox.
No, that's okay. We're gonna get on that soapbox later because I got you. But you know, just with being a mom, and you've learned a lot. I love Miss Sharon, right? I love Mama Sharon. And so about her and think about like when you grew up with her, like what was your favorite saying from her when you were growing up?
I'm trying to think of nice things.
Very candid, very authentic. Mama
authentic.
Watching.
Sharon has a lot of Black mom sayings. You know, let me just say this. What I appreciate about Mama Sharon is you always knew what you were gonna get. You always knew where you stood, and you always knew if you were on her good side or not.
Yeah, well, that's why you are who you are.
Right, exactly. So she's partly to blame. Trying to give her just one statement would do her injustice. You met her.
I know, I love her so much.
She never bit her tongue, not at sports events.
She still doesn't.
Award ceremonies, nothing growing up. What she meant is how she felt. But what I appreciate about my mom, though, she advocated for us very heavily. If she felt like if we were being done a disservice by a teacher, anything, she advocated us, but she also did it in a way that we knew that we weren't perfect. We weren't made to feel like we could do no wrong. You know what I mean? So she advocated for us, but in the right way.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. So let's get back into that soapbox a little bit. So about Black women just having it hard, and especially Black moms. Like, what do you mean by that?
So, well, I think I shared this on a podcast episode I had. Another shameless plug. Go check out.
Yeah, Black Girl Voices
podcast. But I remember I don't think I knew the depths of having a Black boy when I had Shivaun. A, because I was so young, and B, just I had so many other things to worry about. But when I had Clifton, I think we had already been through Tamir Rice. We had already been through Philandro Castile. We had already seen so much racial injustice. And so much of what I was seeing at the time was Black man, Black man, Black man. And so we decided not to find out what we were having. And the doctor pulled Clifton out, and he covered him up, and he was like, okay, who wants to announce the gender? And I was like, you know, Trey can announce it. And, you know, he moved his hand and he was like, it's a boy. And I was like, seriously? My seriously first for a second was just like, we really thought we were having a girl. It was all good. We love him. We'll keep him. But but I remember when they wheeled me into the recovery after the C-section, and like I was there for like a few minutes alone. And I just remember processing and feeling like a little bit of grief, like, oh crap. Can I cuss? No, okay. I'm trying not to cuss.
Say what you want to say, girl.
I remember thinking, oh shit, I have another Black boy, right? And my thoughts for that was another Black boy to protect, another Black boy who I have to teach. It's a different layer of parenting than just having Black children in general, having Black daughters.
Yeah.
Having Black children, it's a different layer of parenting than just regular motherhood. And so I just remember thinking like, oh shit, another Black boy that America hates. And so it was a heavy feeling, because I feel like in our moments of joy, we're constantly reminded of our grief. And for me, a lot of Black motherhood is surrounded with, it's so much joy, but it's surrounded with grief as well. Because now, you know, Caden's still young. He's 2, turning 2.
Basically. 2 going on 22.
Right. He's basically 2. But Shivaun is now 11. So we have hit the point where, is he a cute Black boy or is he a dangerous Black man? Because we know that America doesn't afford Black boys the luxury to be Black kids or Black teens.
Yeah.
They're Black children or they're Black males or Black men, so I think there's a lot of grief there. There's a lot of heaviness there.
Yeah, no, I actually, last year when I was talking with Shell, I hit that point. She asked me what was my fear, and I was like, when my son turns into, a danger to somebody, like that's
right. Because when is it? Like,
you don't know. You don't know. But yeah, so it is a lot of pain, a lot of grief, but like you touched on it a little bit earlier, but I want to go back to it. Like, what is your Black mama joy?
Oh, my Black mama joy is seeing my children flourish into their own individuals. I don't ever want to raise children. I want my children to have the values and morals that I instilled in them, but I want them to be their own individuals. And so being Clifton's still young, he's just kind of like doing his own thing, but Shivaun now being 11, I'm seeing him flourish into his own person, and just seeing how he, first of all, he's super smart. I know every mom brags that their kid is super smart. He's super smart, but for me,
no, y'all listen, he's super smart. He reads way more than I do. Way more books.
He asked for books for Christmas and for birthdays, so that was what kind of kid he is, because I was not asking for books for presents at his age. But for me, I think it's his joy. You cannot take away that child's joy. There is nothing you can do. He can be in trouble 1,000 times. You can yell at him. You can take things away from him, but you cannot take his joy. And then on top of that, he is so kind. Like, he is so compassionate, and he's so worried about everybody and making sure everybody's okay. Like, I mean, you guys saw when y'all were here with Caden, like, he just has like this nurturing spirit. And
we had a free babysitter.
Right. And he's like that though with everybody. You can take him to the playground and he's just wanting to make sure the little kids on the playground that he doesn't know are okay. And I have to reel him in like, okay, you're not their daddy, come over here. But he's just, he has such a compassionate, kind spirit. Like, he'll randomly ask you, like, if I'm quiet, are you okay, mom? And it makes me feel good. It makes me feel like, I don't feel like I had anything to do with that. I feel like that's his spirit. But it just makes me feel good that there's like another kind human going into the world one day,
Yeah, I love that. I love Shivaun too. And so that makes me think too, you being a single mom and, really protective of him. Y'all had this great bond. Now some man comes along looking like Draymond Green. And
oh Lord, I'm trying to watch this too.
He comes along.
They're always going back and forth, y'all. They are like, y'all have a special bond. Y'all are always going back and forth.
It's interesting. I love him, but
you gotta give him
tell him that.
Well, if you see this, you just.
But anyway, so some man comes along looking like Draymond Green, and what's your first thought like when you start getting kind of serious?
So I think, like, going into this, the one thing I want to say to a single mom that might be listening to this is, I think that relationship, that my marriage, the reason it was able to flourish the way it was is because I went into it dating selfishly. And this is what I mean. As a mom, we have the tendency to base everything around our children. So like, that can be dating sometimes. We're like, we meet this man and he's a tall glass of chocolate milk, he's a tall glass milk. Right. No, don't do him. He's a tall glass of chocolate milk, he's got himself together. But the first thing we're thinking of, like, would my kid love him? But I had to step back because I had put my kid first for so many years. And it's very important for your child to have a connection and a bond with the person that you're in a relationship with. Don't get me wrong. But I had to step back and I had to first tell myself, if this relationship moves on from dating to marriage, which, when I was dating, I go into it with the intention of being, serious. Yeah. If this relationship moves on, when the children are gone, I still have to love this person. So I have to make sure I love this person before this child has this bond. And so my first thought, I had to go into it really like dating selfishly, making sure I was doing it all for me. Like, Shivaun was off limits. I told him right away, like, I have a child. honestly, I trauma dumped on him. Like the first night, I was like, here's my issues, run. Like, here is it. It's all on the table. You can run right now. And I mean, he didn't, he's still here. But
he was like, I'm gonna pick him up and I'm gonna hold him.
Right. And he did. And he nurtured it instead of running away or adding more trauma. But I told him I had a child, but I also told him he would not be meeting that child for a while. And so, you know, we dated on the weekends and we talked on the phone at nighttime. And I really dated selfishly. So my first thought was, do I like this person? Or do I like this person? Or do I see a father figure for this, you know, in this person? And so I realized I really liked him, obviously. And then we slowly moved on with the introduction of Shivaun, and then seeing their bond was crazy. And then of course I had to get my mom's discernment.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, Sharon's discernment, she's got a strong sense of discernment. And I hadn't listened to her in the past, but I was like, if she tells me to run this time, I'm running.
Lace up the shoes.
Right. And so she had right off the bat had such a good feeling about him. But I think even more for me is when I found out how godly he was, how faithful he was in prayer, and how he would pray without ceasing, how it didn't matter what we were doing at nighttime before we went to bed, he was on his knees, you know. And I was like, wait a second, like, I've never had anybody do the whole lead in the house in Christ thing. What's
going on?
Right. And so I think with me knowing that I liked him, you know, apart from fatherhood, and then seeing his faithfulness, and then the bond later that I saw with Shivaun, I think that's when I knew that it was going to work out.
Yeah, I love that so much. It's such a great story because not everyone has that.
No.
Some ladies I hear talk about it like that. It's just not like that at all. Like the child and the man is completely separate. So I was just interested to hear that story, and I think everybody else would be too.
Right. Well, I think it's interesting to hear that too, because I remember when I knew it was time to introduce Shivaun and T.R.U.E, and I had to really prepare myself. Like, I was like, okay, I'm going to prepare myself that if Shivaun doesn't like him, that this is it. Like, you know, I've fallen in love with this man, but at the end of the day, yes, I did my due diligence to make sure I like him, but then my child comes first. So this is make or break. And so like, I had really, I think, given myself, like, set realistic expectations for myself that I might have to drop this person, you know, if it didn't work out with my child.
Yeah. What was that first meeting like?
Oh, they hit it off right away. I want to say their first meeting was, he came down to Myrtle Beach because I wanted to make sure that they were meeting in like a familiar setting, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like on my kids' terms. And so they met, and Shivaun just like right away was like, you know, I introduced him. I didn't want to introduce him as mommy's like friend, because I was like, that can get so confusing, you know? So I introduced.
I hear my dog snorting.
I was like, what is that?
It's King.
Knocking.
He's sleeping and he's snoring.
I didn't want to introduce him as mommy's friend, so I let him know this is mommy's boyfriend, and I explained to him what a boyfriend was. And Shivaun kind of like, you wouldn't have known I was there in the room. You know, they kind of played together for a little bit. I think we went out to eat with Shivaun and my mom. So I could get the feel for that. And, you know, he's a really adaptable kid, but I also made sure to like have time where I was talking to him on the side, because I don't want you to adapt to this. This isn't something you adapt to. Like, you need to let me know if, you know, mommy needs to get the hell out of here.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. So, I mean, you talked about like making sure you're good for yourself, but also worrying about your kids. And so Shell and I last time talked about like mommy guilt. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
It's real. It's real, and it's not talked about enough. I think 100%, every single mother, like some people are able to reel it back in real quick, but a lot of women can't. I know for me, I struggled with this for a long time with postpartum depression, but I feel like a lot of postpartum depression stems from mommy guilt. Just the feeling like we aren't doing enough, we're not doing it the correct way. You know, the social media comparison that we all get trapped in, like seeing people with these picture perfect squares and and they just seem to have it all together. Their kids going to bed and their breastfeeding journey might be going well. And, you know, some people might be wanting to breastfeed and can't, or, you know, their marriage seems to be perfect on social media and yours might be suffering because both of y'all ain't getting no sleep, you know, just like you feel so unsupported. And so just because of your hormones, really, not necessarily because of your partner, but you start feeling like this unsupportiveness. And then I feel like it progresses into something else. It progresses into this guilt. And then I also feel like from the guilt, we have a tendency to not take care of ourselves either, you know, not nurture the things that we want to do, or like our desires or our goals. It becomes just about children. And mommy guilt is essentially bullshit, but it's bullshit that we have to tell ourselves that it's bullshit.
Yeah. And I find myself sometimes like just being like, I don't need to go out and do this and buy this and all this because I'm thinking about Caden and what he needs. And Tuck's like,
you do, because you were a person before Caden.
Yeah.
You were an individual before him. And I mean, I have to remind myself of that too, but I feel like it's easier with child number 2 because I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you. I dropped my kids off for 3 weeks over the summer with their grandparents, and I didn't really think about them once because it was just the moment. It was the opportunity to nurture myself. And motherhood, parenting, period. You know, it goes the same for fathers too. Is freaking stop. There's no off button. There's no I'm having a bad day today, I'm gonna nurture myself. There's none of that. It's just kids first. It's nonstop for 18 plus years. And so motherhood guilt is just it's bullshit.
You touched based on like 3 of my questions I have for you, and so one of them is going to be, and I know we talked about this before, but like, what do you do for yourself? Because you talk a lot about self-care on your social stuff like that. Like, what do you do?
Okay, so I probably say the most important thing now that I had to do was take care of myself health-wise. I realized that I had put that off, mental health and just physical health. I had put that off so much because I was like, I ain't got time. You know, we got this, we got that. The boys got this, they got that. You know, Trey's got this and that. And so we have the tendency to be a backbone for our family, and then we forget that you can't be a backbone if your foundation crumbles because you put all this weight on it and you're not taking care of it. And so the first thing I did, or I should say, have started to do in the last few months, is really start to take care of myself in terms of just like committing myself to therapy, I started antidepressants. That was something I was very against because I was like, I can do it. I'm good. Like, I'm strong. But no, I couldn't do it. And that doesn't make me any less weak. Any less strong. It just means that I needed some help. And my doctor was just kind of like, if you have a headache, don't you take medicine? And I was like, yeah, you're right.
Got a point.
Right. And like, some health things, I was going through some health things, and just instead of going to the doctor, I was like, we'll take care of it later. And so, I prioritized myself there. Like, my health has to come first, because if I don't take care of myself, then there will be no mom.
Yeah.
That's number 1. Number 2 has really been to pour into my buckets and what I want to do. I feel like moms in general put that off, but I know I was putting that off. Like, Black Girl Voices is something I'm really passionate about. And for a while I was just like, I was putting my all into it, but I feel like there were some other things I wanted to do and I just wasn't taking it there because I was like, I got too much other stuff to do. But I had to remind myself that my joy matters, my passions matter. And so prioritizing that. And then also I'd say the last thing is just finding moments away, leaving the house without your husband or your child. And it can be nothing. Like, I have left the house and sat in the parking lot of a coffee shop outside in the car, with the air conditioning blaring because it's hot as hell, but sat outside and like read a book or just scrolled on my phone, but did so in peace and quiet by myself.
The quiet is real. The quiet is needed.
Right. You don't understand how much those quiets are. Or like, I know for us, we just started like prioritizing a day. Like, there's a day of the week where it's just about me. And so for us, that's Monday because Trey's off Monday. So he gets up and he deals with the kids. And then I roll out of bed whatever time I roll out of bed. And I'm just kind of like there, but not there because I just need a moment. And, he works outside the home. I'm working at home, which
It's a
That's
different
real.
story. It's a
Right. That's
different
a whole
story.
different story. Like they're out, they're talking to adults and things like that. And, you know, that's no fault of their own. We're very grateful that they're out doing the things they love and they're bringing in income and all that stuff. We love that. But we're at home talking to children, talking to
and, and, you know, I work like with people virtually,
right.
but
It's
still
not the same.
home. Like I can hear
Right.
him coming to my office door and being like, "Mama, mama, mama, open it,
So
open it, open it, open
like,
it."
right, just come in.
But yeah, so I really get you there. So I know it's a little heavy, but I want to go into that postpartum depression piece because, you know, after I had Kaden, you know, for those who watched last season, they knew I had twins and, you know, lost them. But after Kaden was born and I literally had him in my hands, I started having a lot of anxiety.
Oh yeah, postpartum anxiety is real.
Yeah, I had anxiety real bad where I would just cry and be like, I don't think I'm a good mom, or I'm not doing enough, or is he okay? Is he breathing? Count his breathing at night. So I want you to
questioning yourself as a mom.
Yeah. I want you to talk a little bit about how you like identified postpartum depression in yourself and what you did for it.
So I would say so here's the thing. Here's the problem. The problem is mothers don't have support medically. The problem is we have a doctor's appointment for babies every month for years, checking on the baby, making sure the baby's okay, getting them these shots and making sure they're healthy. But yet we check in on our moms at 6 weeks, tell them, oh, you're good to exercise and have sex with your husband. You can leave now. You know, ask them, feeling good. In that appointment at 6 weeks, I remember sitting there dreading the question, like, are you feeling any blues or sadness? Because in my heart, I knew I should have answered yes. But I remember fixing my mouth to say yes. I had so much anxiety about it. I remember fixing my mouth to say yes and immediately saying no. And I said no for a couple reasons. I said no just because I was scared. I have like white coat syndrome or something. When I go to doctor's appointments, my blood pressure is just the sky. It's nerve wracking, you know? And then to have to advocate for yourself is even more nerve wracking. But another reason, and I think a lot of moms feel this, but don't talk about it enough, is I think there's that fear, the what if I tell them I'm depressed, do they come take my baby away or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's that scare.
That's real. That's real.
And especially us being Black women, we know how that the medical system is inherently racist. And we know that we have to be our own advocates. And I wasn't ready to do all that. I wasn't ready to be my own advocate. I wasn't ready to deal with any repercussions. And maybe there would have been none, but I didn't want to take any chances. And so I said no. And then I told myself I would be fine. And I kind of went about my day. Now I would say I was able to identify the postpartum depression. There was a lack of motivation to do anything. There was just a lot of mood swings. Like I'd go from highs to low lows. And then for me, I started to have dark thoughts. Now, that's not something I don't think I've shared with a lot of people or friends or family really, just because I feel like it's such a heavy thing to talk about. But I started to have dark thoughts and kind of just the thoughts like, my family would be so much better off without me. If they didn't have to constantly deal with this person who was so broken, they would eventually get over it and they'd be so much better off. That was when my husband cried with me in the bedroom and told me, I can't help you, you need help. That is actually what motivated me to go get help. I went to a therapist. We talked about it. She diagnosed me with postpartum depression. I started going to therapy sessions. I think it started out like twice a week, you know, because we were going really at it really heavy for like an entire year. And then a lot of things people don't know either is they think postpartum depression kind of stops. Like you had the baby, it stops. Like postpartum depression can go on for years, can linger for years, just from the trauma of birth even. And so I was going at it really heavy, all the things. The pandemic happened. That added a whole we won't even get into the amount of trauma that added. And so I kind of yeah, I kind of stopped, and I would go virtually, but I wouldn't like stay on it, because for me, it was like the therapy office was my safe space. It was my place to go to escape. And yes, I wasn't physically escaping, but it felt like I was. And I was like, I just want to be crying on my therapist's couch again. Like, I want to be smelling the essential oils and the salt rocks and stuff. Like, you know, I love this. And so she diagnosed me with postpartum depression. After a year or so of therapy is when she kind of looked at me and she was like, you've done everything you need to do on your end. Like, maybe you need a little extra help. And that's when we kind of started talking about antidepressants, and that's a journey. We started out on a really low dose that didn't really work. We upped my dose and I felt a lot better. It's not an end all be all, like it doesn't fix you immediately, but it just gave me some hope, at least. Like, I was able to have relief from just like the heaviness.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Girl, I'm glad my camera's a little dark because I started tearing up, and y'all know I ain't gonna cry. Not on here.
Girl,
I will cry. I'm a crybaby.
Just telling the story, but I think the reason why I'm so like I forced myself to tell my truth is because there's another mom somewhere. Now I'm gonna there's another mom somewhere feeling the same thing that I was feeling, that doesn't have the support that I have, and her outcome might not be different if she did not hear another mother's story.
Yeah.
And so if I'm just that mom for one person in my whole entire lifetime, then I've done my job, you know?
Yeah. Well, you did your job, because you know, when I reached out to you, I was like, listen, bad anxiety. I'm sitting here counting his breath. Like, I don't know what's happening. And, you know, you were a great friend with that. So I appreciate you and I love you.
I love you.
Well, let's lighten it up some.
Yeah.
I'm about to need some tissues. But
I didn't bring any. I should have known
that. So our husbands are going to think we're crazy. Knowing
that. I'm not doing any shots with you, Meshe. Oh, never mind. She can't do shots.
I can't. But you know, knowing that, yeah, I am expecting again, and life changes with one baby, let alone having another one. So, like, give me all the tea about, you know, having the second one. What changed? To know.
I will say, have a plan. Yes, have a plan, but throw out your expectations. Have a plan, but throw out your expectations. That goes for birth. That goes for breastfeeding. That goes for them being here, schedules, all of that. I feel like 1 to 2 is the hardest. I mean, of course, I don't have more than 2, but I feel like it's such a hard transition. I mean, for you, I feel like it'll be a little bit easier. So I want to like reassure you, because yours are a lot closer. I was like having 2 only children because mine are 7 years apart.
Yeah.
But give yourself grace. Let yourself know that, constantly affirm yourself that you're a good mom, you're doing a good job, because I feel like, again, with the mommy guilt, it comes in heavy when you go from having, you know, 1 child in the house to now 2, and having to divide your attention, and you start to like worry, like, am I going to be able to give them both love and attention? I was worried for the longest, and I came to find out it was very common that women thought this. They were like, how am I going to love another baby the same, with all the same love? And I thought that, and I was like, that is so weird, because now it's not even like the minute Clifton was born, I was like, oh yeah, I can love them both. You know, I still struggled with giving them both attention, but I was like, yeah, I got enough love for them both.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering too, because, you know, Tuck, he jokes around with Kaden all the time, because that's just how he is. He jokes around with Kaden. He's like, you can't be under your mama when the baby gets here. Like, you can't be under her. You can't be stuck with her. And I was like, yes, he can. I got 2 arms. Like, I got frustrated with them. I was like, you don't tell him that.
Give yourself grace. That's my biggest thing. I mean, that's my biggest thing in motherhood in general, but I will say from 1 to 2, that's my biggest point of advice. It's just give yourself grace, and like, just know that you're doing the best you can. And like, you're your biggest critic. Your child loves you and thinks you're doing an amazing job, and you're sitting there beating yourself up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
they know, but they don't understand it or feel that sense of like beating us up like you do.
Yeah.
You know, and include him in things like, even if it's just throwing the diaper in the trash. Like Jay Sean was 7 years old and still felt happy that I'd be like, you want to throw your brother's diaper in the trash?
Yeah.
Okay. You know, he was excited to do that. You know, breastfeeding, he obviously couldn't help but breastfeeding, but just having him sit down beside me, sometimes I'd use that as an opportunity to be like, oh, you want to read to your brother? And he would sit there and read the book to Clifton, who was not paying any attention, but it was included.
But that's okay.
Right. Just find like small little ways to include them, but not overwhelm yourself.
Yeah. Good. I'll keep that in mind.
Right.
So let me ask you this. So we talked about Mama Sharon earlier and how like she was basically like a rock to you and your brothers and your family. And
right.
If you could fill the blanks, dear Mama, and write her a letter, what would you say?
Are we going to do this crying?
We're going there. We're going there.
I would say, dear Mom, why am I crying? I would say, dear Mom, I am just so grateful to you, first of all, for loving me wholly and just taking me as who I am. And I am also so grateful when I came to you to tell you that I was bringing a child into the world. You loved me and you affirmed me. You never judged me, and you were my biggest cheerleader. And I know that so often I talk about my journey of single parenthood, but I want to let you know that I could not have done it without you, because you were the other parent. And just, I'm so grateful. Oh,
I love that. I love her. I love you.
I'm not gonna be like, this girl's a crying baby.
It's all good. No, it's real.
Emotional.
Like, this whole thing is about authentic Black mamas. What I say? We're gonna cry. We're gonna laugh. Whatever it is, it's real. No, I love it. So what's next for the Haynes family? Like, what are plans? What's in the works?
No, we are. You kind of know a little bit about our business ventures, but we're hoping that those will be done by the end of the year and we can relocate to the DMV area by early next year. I hope to be in a better place mentally and physically. And then we hope to, I hope to be growing Black girl voices. Like, I hope the community has grown, that I'm a lot closer to turning it into a nonprofit so that I can, help Black mothers, Black girls, Black femmes, all of that. And then, maybe there'll be a Haynes 3 on the way.
Yeah, Haynes girl.
Haynes girl, please speak it, because if I have one more boy being at the hospital.
I know. Team girl over here. Team girl.
Team girl. I need a little mini me to set the world on fire.
Listen.
I can do that with my boys, but we need a little.
No, she's going to be sassy, though. Sassy.
Yeah. Speak it, girl.
Well, let's wrap this up. And I just want you to give like any piece of advice you would give to a mom, a new mom, a current mom, a single mom, anybody. Just like, what would you give?
In motherhood in general, I will just let yourself know that you are worthy, you are valuable, you can do all the things, but you should not do all the things. Your mental health matters, you matter, and you're loved.
Awesome. Well, y'all, we're going to wrap it up. And Shivaun and I are actually the last episode of season 2, but I know that Shell has stuff in the works for season 3. So
yes, I can't wait. Yeah,
I know. I'm excited about that. If you have not watched any of the other videos, they're great. I would go watch them. They're on the Choose True Facebook or YouTube page, not Facebook page, YouTube page. Just go watch them. They're going to be up, and ours will be up for replay.
Yes.
All right. Bye, y'all.
Bye.